Hey, I only got a minute with y'all, so listen to this. Today is messages from Phil Robertson, and it's on the Kingdom's Foundation. This comes from Matthew 7:24. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is a wise man who builds his house on a rock. Now, the United States of America was built on a godly foundation, of a kingdom foundation, as Mr. Phil says. In October of 1829, Noah Webster wrote a letter to James Madison that recounted their history together, how they met in 1782 when Webster visited Philadelphia, the seat of the youngest U.S. government at the time, to share the early drafts of a small book. The book eventually grew into a 2-volume dictionary, the one we all love and know today. The Webster isn't writing to discuss his dictionary. So once he's dispensed the pleasure sanities, however you say it, he launches into his thoughts on a far more important matter: the drafting of a new constitution for the Commonwealth of Virginia, which was a state at the time of the original 13. In his letter, this is what Webster said. Webster offered a well-reasoned opinion about the role of the Almighty in his government. So essentially what it was doing, it was saying, it's saying like God needs to be present in the government. That's why we got today, in God we trust. And here's what the letter said. I sincerely hope that Virginia and her new constitution will allow some fundamental errors in the principle of representation, which in my opinion have marred the constitution of other states, and may yet shorten the duration of our republic form of a government. I know not whether I am singular in my opinion, but it is my decided opinion that the Christian religion is its purity, is the base, or rather a source of genuine freedom in government. So what it's saying is that if God is put and is focused upon in the government, that the government will run a whole lot more smoothly. And it says, I speak not of a religion which gives the property and power of a state to its dignitaries. So it's like saying not like a high power. But I speak of the religion which is preached by the Christ and his apostles, which breathes love to God and love to man. And I am persuaded that no civil government of a republican form can exist and be durable, in which the principles of religion have not controlling its influence. So we all know that God takes control of your life, can take control of your life. So what it's saying is that, if you follow by the fundamentals of God, guess what? It will be a whole lot more better government if you just follow the principles of God. It says the principles that religion, principles that, so it's saying if you input God's word into the government, it'll work. But Webster was a man of opinion and conviction, as it says here. And it was his opinion and conviction that Virginia, and by extension, all of America, needed an unshakable, immovable bedrock foundation. That foundation was Christianity. So it's saying that if you use God as your foundation, not only in this government, which, as you know, is its 250th anniversary. So essentially, if you think about this country, the United States of America here, has lasted for 250 years, not including the time before the Constitution and Declaration of Independence was adopted. Think about that. This government has run, essentially, now we have far from it, but has essentially ran from the basis of God. Think of that. Here's what else Mr. Field says. Webster wasn't alone, of course. Many, if not all, of the founding fathers considered the Bible as a foundation and framing of our country. See what I just said there? There it goes. And though I'll not retreat all that ground here, I'll recap a little, is what it says. Consider George Washington a devout Christian who knew virtue and morality could not exist without influence of God. So saying this government couldn't run if it wasn't for God. And this is and I guess George Washington wrote this in a farewell address in 1796. I guess it was when he was leaving the office. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on the mind's particular structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect the national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. In addition, so we're saying also Washington said to distinguish character of a patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. So, as this country was built, I mean, I wouldn't even say essential. It was built on a godly foundation of the Bible. It was built on the Bible foundation. So they built the entire country on top of the Bible, if you want to think of it like that. If this country has survived 250 years with the basis of the Bible, think about what it can do to your life. Think about that. Nobody's ever going to live. There's nobody in modern times that's lived to be 250. Now, there's plenty of people in the biblical times. But there's nobody in modern times that's lived to be 250. But you say, well, you know, what does that have to do with me? Think about it. If this country survived 250 years with the basis of God, think about what it could do in your life, which is, give or take, less than 100 years. Think about that. If you build your life on God's foundation, your life will be better. So, to close this up, if you're like, man, what is it? Read the Ten Commandments. It's in Exodus chapter 20. Read that. That'll give you some fundamentals of something to stand on. They give you, I guess you can essentially say, your concrete. It gives you a little layer of concrete. Also read Colossians chapter 3. That'll give you a little bit more bedrock. If you start building all the things it says, long-suffering, meekness, mercy, all that, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain. You build it up, you build a strong foundation, because if you have something that's thin, like, for instance, a bookmark, it's thin, right? It can bend real easy, because it's thin. But as this ruler here, it's thicker, so it's stronger. It's essentially the same thing. If you make the bare minimum, you'll bend and you'll lose everything, because you ain't got a strong foundation. If you use something like this ruler that's a little bit thicker and use a strong foundation, It ain't bending. It ain't bending that much. Thinking about something, I don't have like a board on me, but essentially think of it like a board. If you had a board, it ain't bending at all. You know why? Because most of the time, it's thick. It's thick, so it ain't gonna bend. The more you add to it, the more you add, like, you know, man, I'm gonna quit using God's name in vain. I ain't gonna say, you know, just think about it, you know, using God, just saying God just to say it, you know, and like describe, like, you know, you stub your toe, what you gonna say? You know what I mean? Don't use that. You know, to say, well, I may stub my toe, but you know what? God will be alright. It'll be alright, God. You use, like, worship idols, you know. Let's just say you're not a Christian. Let's just say you're an atheist. You are a furry. You are a Satanist. You are something like that. Because they worship other things, you know. You change that. All right, you add some more to your foundation. Don't steal. I mean, that's simple. It's just simple. Just don't steal. Do not steal is literally what it says. Thou shalt not steal. All right? Thou shalt not kill. If you do that, I mean, there's two of them that you just add on top of each other like that. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which is against jealousy. Don't be super jealous because of somebody, what they have. Get that out of the way, bam, there's something else you can add to it. For too long, you're not going to have a foundation like that. You're going to have a foundation like this. And that's your Bible lesson for today. So to finish this off, this is what Mr. Phil says. That's his prayer. Lord, thank you for the founding fathers who built America on the bedrock foundation of Christianity. May we honor the legacy by being faithful to you and to upholding biblical truth. So whatever you're going through right now, think about this. The United States has lasted 250 years of a strong, steady bed. If you do that, of a foundation, if you do that in less than 100 years of your life will be a whole lot better. Hope this helped. Good night, y'all.